The case of the missing students highlights a broader issue in Mexico, the fight against crime. And joining me here in Washington is Christopher Wilson. He's a senior associate at the Mexico Institute, part of the Woodrow Wilson International Center for Scholars. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's talk about these missing students. It's been since September now, and it really gets into the broader question about the justice system in Mexico, the belief in the justice system.
The belief in the justice system among citizens in Mexico, the trust in it is very low. Trust in the police, trust in really all of the rule of law institutions are quite low. Actually, one thing that's interesting is trust in the military, according to public opinion polls, is a little bit higher, but that doesn't get around the issue. There's deep issues of corruption and really of just capacity that need to be addressed that absolutely are at the bottom of an issue like this.
And the president made one move recently. He removed the attorney general. What does that say? Will that do anything?
Well, it's not enough. I mean, I think that the bottom line is that this is really about the institutions themselves, meaning it's not just one person, it's not just an issue of leadership, it's about finding ways to have police where there are systems of accountability, not just, what Mexico's tended to do is when they find an instance of corruption, you could fire one police or fire 10 police or fire the entire police department. But if you just reconstruct the same police department, you'll be reconstructing the same system that's embedded with corruption that was there before. And so it takes something much more profound, actually, to really change the system.
On the other side, though, we're also seeing the arrests of these top cartel leaders. We focus on organized crime and gangs, but in this case, it's, the local government accused, local police and the local government accused of wrongdoing. So how pervasive is this in Mexico? What kind of damage does it do to relations even with other countries?
Yeah, well, I think this question is really important, one of the issue of whether or not you go for a high-level leadership or you take a different tack. And Mexico has had a very serious issue with organized crime groups becoming extraordinarily powerful because they're being fed with a lot of money from sale of drugs in the United States. But what's happened is actually they've been weakened because of the taking out of top-level leadership, but they've fragmented. There are now many smaller groups. They're fighting each other, actually becoming more violent. As it's harder for them to make money off the drug trade, they start to target society itself. So kidnappings and extortion, some of the things similar to what we saw in the case of Ayotzinapa, not exactly this, but similar to that, are the tactics that are more and more what these criminal gangs, they're not really even necessarily drug trafficking organizations anymore, but just criminal gangs preying on society are up to. And so that's the challenge that needs to be tackled at this point. It's not so much weakening the criminal groups so that government is stronger than them. It's actually building systems for the rule of law. It's having corruption-proof police. It's having a political system so that it's not, it was really, in this case, it was the local government in collaboration or in cahoots with organized crime groups that kidnapped and probably murdered these students. So it's a matter of making your elections. There are elections in June in Mexico, making sure that the candidates are clean, having them be vetted completely so that you know that they're not like these ones were, which are actually the wife of the mayor of this town was really one of the leaders of the local criminal gang.
Yeah, a few years ago, you wrote a book called Working Together, detailing the economic ties between Mexico and the United States. How difficult is it for President Enrique Peña Nieto to focus on these economic ties when he's so busy with what's happening domestically in his country?
Yeah, well, he really wanted to. That was his goal coming in as president, was to change the narrative about Mexico, sort of turn a new page from the, and I think he did that. There was a good intention behind it. Too much attention has been focused on just these issues of crime and violence, while there is a whole nother story going on in Mexico about economic possibilities, a growing middle class. So all of that's important, but you can't only focus on that either, right? It's impossible to have true economic growth that will be long-lasting if you ignore systemic issues of corruption. And in fact, the two come together very nicely because, the same companies that would be investing in Mexico are looking at corruption like this and saying, well, how am I going to get a fair treatment as a company investing from abroad if the rule of law isn't upheld for local citizens and for international companies alike?
These negative headlines keep following him around. Christopher Wilson, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate your insight.
Thanks for having me.